All right, clap it up. Get my shade, man. All right, Shalom, Israel. We the Isupk. Start out at the 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander Jenny Hanna. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group or organization, and what we do is teach the truth according to the Bible. That all so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians are God-chosen people, and we ought to come back to our culture, which is coming back to the laws of the Bible, which is following our King Christ, Yahushua, and be up under one governing body in the Isupk under Commander Jenny Hanna until Christ returns. That's what we teach in the Isupk, because we teach the Bible and we know the truth pertaining to the Bible. And tonight is the Tuesday night Brotherhood class. And today, I wanted to talk about a specific topic because, everybody's children are getting ready to go back to school if they haven't started school yet. A few, my daughters started school yesterday. And I have a couple of other kids who start tomorrow, the 23rd. So some children have started school, some children haven't started school, they're getting ready to start school. But there have been incidences and cases already on the first day of school of children being bullied. And if you're asking yourself, how does this tie into brotherhood and the sisterhood? If you're asking yourself that question, you are very lost. And maybe you don't understand what brotherhood and sisterhood is. Because remember that old saying when we were younger, we used to hear that it takes a village to raise a kid. You understand? So-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indian, we have gotten so far away from that way of thinking that our children aren't even being protected by the nation as a whole. Instead, what do we see every day? That, it's nothing wrong with loving your child, or children if you have multiple children. There's nothing wrong with loving your children. But as a nation, when we see other children, we don't really have too much concern about other people's children. And what I mean by that, not to say that you wouldn't want to see anything bad happen to a child, or you don't have that child's interest in their well-being. That's not what I'm saying. On something deeper, if you see a child that is acting out, that is lashing out, a lot of times parents or people in general don't want to correct someone else's child because they're afraid of how the parents, and 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10 in most cases, the mother is going to respond, because nowadays we're raised in single parent homes. There are a lot of sisters who don't have a father at home with the children. Whether she has one child by one man or she has multiple children by multiple men. A lot of times the man's not in the household. So starting right there, the structure of the household isn't even in place the way that the Most High God intended it to be. Because the Most High God intended us to be together with forever. You understand? When the Sadducees and Pharisees came to Christ and asked Christ, can a man divorce his husband for any cause? Christ said Moses wrote the bill of divorcement in the law, and he didn't want to write it in the law. He suffered to write it in the law, meaning he didn't want to put it in the law, but because the hardness of brothers and sisters' heart, he put it in the law because, of our own selfish reasons. And a lot of times you'll see that today. You'll see brothers that get so frustrated who haven't been trained properly, like the priests and prophets in the Isupk under Commander Jenny Hanna. His rib might have a mouth on her. You understand? She might have a mouth on her, and he doesn't know how to control his emotions. And before you know it, they're arguing, and he loses control, and he may put his hands on the sister, which is not right. You understand? Nowadays, you have a lot of sisters putting their hands on their man. They're beating up the man first, which destroys the black family and the structure which is necessary to raise a child. You understand? So you got sisters putting their hands on the men, and you got men putting their hands on the sisters, and before you know it, they hate each other. Their hearts are hardened towards each other, and they don't want to be with each other ever again. And the man will leave the house, or the woman will put the man out the house, and now you have a single mother home. Remember, it takes a village. And it's not just a mother and her children and the neighbors, your brothers and sisters. It's structure in each household. Each household should have this structure, because a lot of young boys, what's happening is that they're being raised to be effeminate, because they're always around women, and women can't raise men. It's been proven. And if I'm lying, I mean, you could look at the statistics of how black men are incarcerated more than any other ethnic group. Hispanic men as well. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indian. You can look at the statistics that mostly every brother that has been incarcerated, every brother that has joined the gang, comes from a single mother home, or a broken home with a single mother. So until we realize our mistakes, until we realize that it takes a nation to raise children, until we realize that we have to have brotherhood and we have to have sisterhood, we'll continue to live our lives in the squalor. We'll continue to live our lives at the bottom. We'll continue to live our lives making the Most High God angry, and we living out these curses that are written in the Bible. We'll continue living that way until we realize that we have to come together as a nation, that we have to have brotherhood and we have to have sisterhood. Until we realize that, man, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, man, we're going to continue to be in bad shape. You understand? We're going to continue to be in bad shape. But, however, children these days that are going back to school, they're already being bullied. You understand? I got a couple of Salaki, I'm checking this shit chat, making sure we Tawab online. Alright, look like we Tawab. I have a couple of stories that from parents that, you know, it's talking about their children and how they're being bullied. And let me tell you something. Well, I'll get off into that a little later, where this bullying comes from. But it's a couple of cases of how children are being bullied. And it's us as adults. First off, we have to train up our children right. If we're not training our children the way that the Most High God wants us to train up our children, they're already doomed. You understand? A lot of times when we're Christian, and if we're in the world, like we say in Isupk, we came out of the world. And the Bible commands blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to come out of the world. If we continue to be in the world ourselves and have no integrity, and we tell our children that they can't do something, that they can't watch certain movies, and they can't listen to certain music, or don't use drugs, but we're not practicing what we preach, you heard that before. You understand? Basically, if we're hypocrites to what we tell our children not to do, what often happens to the child? They're going to think the entire time that, okay, I can't do it now because I'm a child. You understand? I can't do those things. I can't smoke. I can't drink. I can't have sex with multiple men or multiple women. I can't, watch these type of movies, listen to this type of music. But the whole time, they're watching their parents partake in such activities. If we don't want our children to live the lifestyles that we had, or the things, if we don't want our children to go through the things that we're going through, we have to have integrity. That means as an adult, you have to make the sacrifice for your child in order for them to succeed. And a lot of times as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, because we're Christian, because Christianity is a hypocritical religion or faith, we think that everything's going to be all right eventually. And the children, what happens to them, they grow up thinking what? That all the things my mother and my father told me not to do, I can do it when I get grown. And that is part of the problem in the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community, because we don't raise our children according to the Bible. We allow them to celebrate birthdays. We allow them to celebrate Christmas. We allow them to celebrate Thanksgiving. We tell them don't get high, and we're getting high. We tell them don't be an alcoholic, and we're alcoholics. We tell them don't unalive people and we unalive people, we tell them don't be a hot girl or a city girl or a stripper and we're hot girls, city girls, and strippers. We are hypocrites, and we are a lot of time we are our own worst enemy inside of our house because we practice no integrity at all whatsoever. So if you allow your child to do things, and if you're doing things, I mean, what do you expect the odds are of your child not doing those things? What do you expect your odds of your young boys not to go to jail when we spoil them? You understand? We spoil them and we allow them to live a certain lifestyle. And we allow them to see us live a certain type of lifestyle. And we think that our children are going to be rewarded good things when we have taught nothing but how to be cursed. Be cursed by the Most High God. You understand? Let me get a preset real quick. Let me get a preset real quick before I move forward. Oh, okay. This is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. And it says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. You understand? Your brother is someone that comes from your tribe, another black, Hispanic, and Native Indian. You understand? Another Israelite. Your children are Israelites. Your children are your brothers too. They're from your nation. You understand? In this context. So not only would you correct your brother or your sister, not only would you correct your husband or your wife, not only would you correct your mother and your father or your friends who you grew up with, you also have to correct your children. You understand? And it starts at home. No one should be going to school getting bullied. No black, Hispanic, or Native Indian child should be a bully. The Isupk has the answers on bullying. It's the way we train up our children. It's the way we conduct ourselves. It's the way that we have to come out of the world. There's a way to stop bullying. We just have to want to stop it. If you're worried about your child being bullied, we have the remedy right here in the Isupk under Commander General Yohana. But the Bible says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. So if you would rebuke your neighbor who is your brother, why don't we rebuke our children? You understand? Instead of buying them gifts and buying them all these school clothes at the beginning of the year that they don't need, that's not going to further their education, it just messes up their mind because our children are carnal just like we are, the parents. You understand? I see all the children, which is a beautiful thing. You sending your children to the school, the first day of school. But if we allow sin, if we suffer sin on our children, if we're not teaching our kids the laws of the Most High God, if we're not teaching them that they can't celebrate Christmas or you shouldn't get high because I'm getting high, what is the point of sending them to school in designer clothes? Now all the children think that they're going to have designer clothes because none of the parents are rebuking the behavior that they pick up from social media, that they pick up from commercials, that they may pick up from their friends or from the Christian church. None of that behavior is getting corrected. And we're suffering sin on our children if we don't correct them and rebuke them for their behavior. You understand? Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. In any wise, you have to rebuke your neighbor and not suffer sin on your neighbor, not suffer sin on your brother, and definitely not suffer sin on your children. I believe we all can agree to that and understand that. You understand? We all can understand that. But instead, because we're Christian, and a lot of times, especially with sisters struggle with it a lot. Black women, with the children, especially your young boys, we suffer from that a lot. You understand? No one wants to rebuke their child. No one wants to see their child have to go through any hard times. Well, let me tell you something. If you're that type of parent that doesn't, you may get after your child, but it only lasts so long. They don't get a chance to learn their lesson. And that's why the Most High God cut off the nation of Israel. We're the Most High God's children. We're the Most High God's children, and he cut us off because of our disobedience, and we suffered and we paid for it. We paid with our lives. We paid with our children's lives. We paid a hell of a price for disobeying the Most High God. And we're the Most High God's children. And he loved us so much that he chose us out of all the nations that were upon the face of the earth to be a special and holy people. Holy meaning separate. He chose us. And he chose us to do better than the rest of these nations. That's why our what's the word I'm looking for? That's why our penalties were so harsh. Because that's how much the Most High God loved us, man. That's why he loved us. You understand? He loved us so we would correct our behavior. And a lot of times we don't correct our children. They get in trouble. You catch your son smoking. Oh, you better stop doing that. You understand? You call them every name in the book. You yell to the top of your lungs. You scream at them. And then what happens? He goes back into the behavior which he is learning at home. The behavior that he's learning from his friends. The behavior that goes unnoticed because a lot of times we're too busy doing us as adults. We want to go travel the world. We want to go on trips. We want to go out. We want to do this, but we're not attending to our children. We're not attending to our children. We're, turning the blind eye. We know that they're doing things, but because we haven't heard anything, we be like, it's cool. It's cool. He all right. She's all right. But let me tell you something. That's horrible parenting according to the Bible. The Most High God didn't turn his blind eye to us. And just like we read in Leviticus, when you see someone doing something, you have to rebuke thy neighbor, because if you don't, that means we hate our children, man. Like the Bible says, we hate our children. And I know we think we love them because we buy them every Jordan that comes out every few months. I know we feel like we love our children because we buy them all the school clothes and we take pictures of them on the first day, and they're going to school in designer clothes that cost, hell, these kids' clothes cost more than my whole wardrobe for the year. When I was young, I didn't get nothing. I remember one year I felt so bad, my shoes, the bottom of my Nikes were actually talking. These kids don't go through that. These kids don't go through that. I had shoes that were talking. I don't even think these young kids even know what I'm talking about. I don't even think they know what I'm talking about. You talking about being bullied, which that's going to take me into bullying when I get on the subject. But these kids don't have it as bad as I did from what I see. I'm not saying that there's no children that aren't going through any hardship, because plenty of us are. And a lot of us don't have, the resources. And because our oppressors, the devil that the Bible speaks of, we are still in horrible conditions. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You understand? There's brothers and sisters, in Mexico still trying to come over here to this country because their country is extremely, has extreme poverty. Just like brothers and sisters in Haiti and Jamaica and wherever we are, scattered. But my point being is that I remember having shoes that used to talk, a pair of Nikes. These children now are going to school in designer. These kids, one pair of shoes was my whole wardrobe for the entire year. These kids are spoiled. So if another kid doesn't have on designer or Balenciagas or red bottoms, whatever they wearing, what's popular today? Amari. If they don't have on Amari or whatever other designers that's popular. I know Amari's real popular right now. You understand? Gucci's popular right now. You understand? Which we don't even have the money to buy these type of gifts for our children, but we work 2 or 3 jobs and we spoil our children and other children that are less fortunate, or other parents that really have sense. They be like, I'm not buying my kids a $600-700 pair of shoes. I'm not doing it. It doesn't make any sense. Those children are getting made fun of. And we're going to talk about where this bullying comes from and how to prevent it. And the only way to prevent it, the short answer is joining the Isupk under Commander Juliana and teaching our kids how to be men and women, or young boys and girls of God. That's the short answer. You understand? It's a lot here. Let me check this real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to stay on top of the chat. Brothers and sisters, make sure that you know, that the feed is coming in clear, and I'm reading all the messages. Alright. Alright, so let's get back to it. I got a couple of stories that I wanted to share about this bullying. A few bullying situations that has happened here, not here in Kansas City, but just since the children have started school. You understand? And I'm going to start with this one. This is a sister on Facebook. Oh, it looks like they may have deleted this story. Okay, they may have deleted this story. The one that they did delete this story. But a sister by the name of Xana Stewart posted a story of her daughter. I believe she was in elementary school in like the 3rd or 4th grade. I can't remember the grade, but they deleted the story off Facebook. The sister was going in, but her daughter was beaten up by another child on the bus. Busted her lip, and I believe broke her jaw, if I'm not mistaken. And she was mad because no one at the school did anything. She didn't have any support. So of course, her being in the world, she resulted to, you know, what people do, going off on social media. Not going off on social media, but, you know, expressing her feelings on social media about the situation. But I don't have the story. I wanted to read it. I didn't know they was going to delete it. But however, this little girl went to school riding a bus, and another little boy beat the little girl up. Now, why did that little boy beat the girl up? I don't have the full story. But it couldn't have been that serious because they are in elementary school. But this is behavior learned from either the parents, and it hasn't been corrected. And I'm not saying the little boy's parents are the type of parents that you couldn't talk to, but a lot of times in the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community, what happens? When someone's child is, you know, not being a good little boy or good little girl, oftentimes when we bring it to the attention to the parent, what happens? The parent doesn't want to hear that their child is being a bully or is disturbing the class or is getting bad grades or however the case may be. A lot of times that happens because we don't want to face the reality and we don't want to face the truth about our children. You understand? We don't want to face that. But according to the Bible, let me get a precept. And it's in Proverbs. Y'all probably already know where I'm going. This is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. And it says, train up a child in the way he should go. So starting right there, us as parents should be training up the children the way that they should go. Now, if your child is already bullying little girls on the bus, if your child is a young age and she's twerking and doing TikToks, if your child is trying to get high or trying to carry guns, they're not being trained in the way that they should go. They're being trained up in the world. Oftentimes we are allowing our children to be trained up in the world. When the Bible in the book of Revelation says, come up out of the world, come out of the world. Oftentimes we push our children into the world and we think that we love our child. We naturally have affection and love for our children. But when we push our children off in the world, we're pushing our children into snares, which is a trap. Our children, what happens, will eventually be trapped in one of these snares and be battling some demon that they're not prepared to defeat because they're not raised or trained in the way that they should go. And what happens is when they get caught in that snare, that demon is going to destroy them. That demon is going to drag them through lifestyles and make them make poor decisions throughout their life. That's what's going to happen to our children when they're not trained the way that they should go, according to the Bible. Not according to the Christian church, not according to the Muslim mosque, not according to Islam, not according to none of that garbage, but according to the Most High God. That's how we should train our children. And it's going to be hard. Oftentimes I talk to my older daughter, she thinks that I'm strict. I want to go over to my friend's house. No, I don't trust anything, because I know people in the world are not training their children up in the way of the Most High God. I know that. The problem is that, of course, she being a teenager and she being a child, she doesn't quite understand that. But you have to make it understandable for your child, because you love them. You don't want your children to eventually go into a trap or a snare in the world. You want to train them the way that they should go. So I tell my daughter, like, listen, anyone that is trying, any of your friends that try to influence you to go against your parents, to go against the Most High God, to go against your father or your mother, they're not really your friends. And it's hard for a child to understand that concept, because they're children. They're learning. They want to have liberty. They want to have freedom. They want to have fun. And it's our job as an adult to guide them, to mold them, to make them understand that life is just not about having fun. Who the hell cares about having fun when there are plenty of black little girls, Hispanic little girls, and Native Indian girls that are missing? They just start on the Indian reservations looking for those Gadite sisters that were missing, that are being sex trafficked only maybe 2 years ago. 2, maybe 3 years. I give it 3 years, but they're just now looking for these children, these little poor Gadite girls that have been missing for years, because we're not protected by our oppressor. We're not protected by America. We think that we are because we have access to 911, but when things really happen, we don't get any help. The only reason it's an Amber Alert wasn't because of some little black girl in the hood, some little Mexican girl in a barrio, or some little Gadite sister or Native Indian sister on the reservation. No, we have an Amber Alert because of some oppressor, some so-called white girl who came up missing, and they dropped everything that they were doing to go find her and to search for her. That's why we have an Amber Alert. We don't have a Keisha Alert. We don't have a Maria Alert. You understand? We have to protect our own and worry about our own. And the only reason, Salakia, the only way we're going to be able to train up a child the way that they should go is coming back together, coming back to your culture, coming back to the Most High God. That's how our children are protected. We can't just depend on or try to depend on, well, they're good people. They seem nice. If they're not following the Bible, if they're not following your culture, you can never trust them, because they're enemies of God. And we have to understand that. Otherwise, you're putting your child's life in jeopardy. When we send our children to school, their lives are in jeopardy. We don't know if a school shooter is going to go to the school. We don't know if their friends are really their friends and they're going to try to lace their drink with some drug or lace the blunt with some drug. And your child, and I know brothers and sisters that actually went through this growing up. We thought that we had friends. I got homeboys to this day in high school, in middle school, that was hanging around different people. And their drink got laced, their blunt got laced with a substance, and they're out their mind until this very day. Almost 20, 30 years later, they are still out of their mind with that demon. Because our parents, I know we like to say, well, our mama did the best job that she could. Our parents failed us. The older generation failed us. They failed us. We all almost been incarcerated. We all, sisters have different baby daddies. We're a failure nation. But all that can change if we come back to the Most High God. And He won't remember our past if we repent. He'll remember our children if we repent. Our children don't have to die or be caught in snares. If we repent and come back to our culture, the Most High God will forgive us. But if we keep listening to those idiots in the Christian church like T.D. Jakes, we'll continue to die. We'll continue to suffer. And we'll continue to live a lifestyle or a life full of worries and what ifs and just hoping everything's going to be all right. We'll continue to live that way. But the Most High God didn't intend for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to live that way. You understand? Now the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. When they're old, they won't depart from it because they're going to understand that their parents, their fathers, and their mothers made sacrifices. You understand? A lot of times our children, feel alone. They have they don't see their parents engaging with them. A lot of times we're so busy going to work, and we're at the work, we gotta do this and do that. A lot of times children just honestly just feel like they're alone and they don't get any attention. You understand? So we have to start paying more attention to our children. And when we talk to our children, which is going to bring me to my next precept, we have to start teaching them the correct way. That's the only way that the children are going to understand, seeing their parents first make the sacrifices, then seeing their parent having integrity, teaching them things that they would never do. We can't teach our children not smoke if we smoke. We can't teach our children don't be a whore if we're whores. We can't teach our children don't sell drugs and I'm a drug dealer. We can't teach our children that if we don't have any integrity. We have to make sacrifices. And when your child sees that their parent is making sacrifices in order to help better their life, they'll understand it and they'll appreciate it. How often do we see that children that are brats who don't respect their parents? I see it all the time. I see it almost every day. I can't believe you'll hear the parents say it. I can't believe that, my child did this. My child did that. I can't believe my child. Do you know my child had the nerve to, smoke a blunt and been, smoking cigarettes behind my back? And what's the first thing that they say? I just bought them new school clothes. I just did this for them. I just did that. You can't buy your children's trust. You can't buy your children integrity. You can't buy your children morality. And we have to get that in through our head as parents. You can't buy, righteousness. It has to be taught. And it has to be taught through the word of God. And it has to be taught through sacrifices. And it has to be taught with integrity. We have to train up a child the way that they should go. You understand? We have to train up a child. We can't allow our children to do whatever the hell they want. Because if we do, we're going to lose them. We're going to lose them eventually, man. You understand? Let me get another precept. This isn't the precept that I wanted to get. But, no, that's not what I want. This is Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24. He that spared his rod hated his son. Now, what does this mean? He that spared his rod hated his son. You understand? Does anybody know what this means? Let me see if anybody's paying attention. He that spared the rod, let me go back. He that spared his rod hated his son. You understand? This is a heavy precept, especially when raising children. This is a heavy precept because a lot of times as parents, we don't get it. We don't get it. We want, what's best for our child. Salaki, let me put my phone on vibrate. We want what's best for our child. But in all actuality, we don't know what's best for our child, especially if we are parents that spared his rod, hated his son. Now, I know in the Christian church, they would break this down as you got to beat your kids half to death. You understand? You don't have to beat your child half to death. I mean, hell, I got beat a lot when I was young because I was bad. And that didn't quite work for me. You understand? Which it doesn't work, especially for a lot of young black males. Your mother beats you. We used to have to go outside. You know the routine. You had to go outside and pick a switch. And then us being smart, smart, dumb children, we'll go out there and pick the smallest switch we could find, and then your mama or your auntie or your grandma goes and gets the switch that you should have got in the first place, and then she's really going to put it on you. She's really going to put it on your backside. Remember those days? But what is the difference? We just read that, you got to train up a child in which the way that they should go. Now, you raise a child the way that they should go, and this is another part. We can't be so nice to our children. First off, your child is not your friend. And a lot of times you'll see people on TikTok always doing activities with their friends. Salaki, with their children. You have these influencers, and it's like their child is their best friend because they're making money, for one. But you don't really see them being parents. And if you are, it's like in a comical or a real soft way of, parenthood. First off, they're not even the same after they turn off them cameras. You understand? But, he that spareth his rod, meaning you're not stern enough with your child. This doesn't mean that you have to beat your child with whatever's in your hand. You just can't take this and start beating your child upside the head because you're mad at the moment. That's not what that means. Because first off, if you're not training them the way that they should be going, hell, you should be beating yourself with whatever's in your hand because you're the parent. Now, if you're training your child and you know that you're doing right and you have integrity as a parent, now, when your child is doing horrible in school and they're making D's and F's, and you've been telling your child the whole school year about making D's and F's, and if you look in your child's closet and he has 20 pairs of sneakers, or she has her nails done and the latest hairstyle and eyelashes and all that, you hate your children. You're sparing the rod. You're not being stern enough with them. After a certain age, you're not going to be whooping your teenagers like you would be whooping a child. And a lot of times when they're children, when they're young, we don't want to, spank their behind and correct their behavior to where they know. Like, you're not going to reward a young child for running in the street in the traffic. You take that child and be like, listen, stay out that street. You're going to kill yourself. And you may pat them on the butt so they realize they're going to cry. You're going to get a little emotional. But that's better than watching a child run into the street and get hit by an 18-wheeler. It's better than that. So take that as the example and correct the child's behavior before they're in an incident or a snare that will ruin their life, that could possibly kill them. You understand? Because a parent's job isn't to be the child's friend. You have to protect your child. When children have friends, oftentimes they're going to put each other's lives in danger because they are all children. If everyone's acting like a child and everyone needs correction, who the hell is going to be the protector? If no one is stern, if no one is putting the rod down, if no one is being a parent and training up the children the way that they should go, who's going to be responsible for the death that comes with sinning? Who? Because if we're our children's friend, that's what's going to happen. It can't happen any other type of way. You understand? All right. It can't happen any other type of way. So the Bible says, he that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him. And that's like another word for chastising, not, like I said, not beating them down. He that loveth him chasteneth him betimes. So time after time again, man, you're not just going to chasten him once because they might do it again. Every time they do it, you have to be stern. You have to let them know. Don't buy them any shoes. Don't get them video games. Instead, buy them books. You understand? Get them tutors. Get them things and resources that they need, that they're going to learn, that they're going to have to respect your word. Like I used the nation of Israel as an example. because we didn't hearken into the voice of the Lord thy God. Matter of fact, let me get that in Deuteronomy real quick. Let me get that in Deuteronomy. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. And the Bible says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So that's what happens to us. That's what happened to us. And that is what is currently happening to us, because we don't hearken unto the voice of the Most High thy power. You understand? We don't observe to do his commandments and his statutes. And the day that he told us this, we didn't do it. And that's why we went through all these curses that are written in the Bible. That's why. You understand? Let me see if I can and okay, verse 32, I'm gonna drop down to Deuteronomy 28 and 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with the longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. Now think about that. Imagine this is one of the curses we went through in the transatlantic slave trade. Currently, our Isupk brothers and sisters are going through this on the border. On the border of Mexico and Texas, our Isupk brothers and sisters are in ICE detention centers or holding facilities being stripped from their children. They don't have any might. They're trying to come over to this country to have a better life. But because we don't teach our children God's laws, we go through these curses, man. Their children are being currently stripped from them in these centers, and they're drinking out of toilet bowls. They're living in horrible conditions. And there's nothing we can do about it. Just like it happened in the transatlantic slave trade. Just like it happens now. Hell, you got people, you got brothers and sisters that are on drugs, heavy. And CPS comes to your door and takes your children because you're on crack, or you're on meth, or you're doped up off fentanyl, and they have to take those poor children. You don't have any might because you're a drug addict. You're a drug addict. You don't have any might to get those children back. The only way you're going to get those children back is if you get off drugs and clean up your life. But we don't have to live our life worrying about these type of things if we keep the laws of God. Now the children go in the system. And what happens to those children in the system? I know this brother, man, at the gym, and I want to get his brother a hand, because this brother, he's not an ISUPK, but this brother sincerely cares about children. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to tell you the story. This brother sincerely cares about children. Now, when children go in the system and they go to these foster homes and go through foster care, a lot of times the foster care, the system itself is cruel. They don't have people who really care about these children. And this brother said that he works for that system. He no longer works there because he said he couldn't stomach the amount of things that were happening to these children. He said, bro, I couldn't do it no more. He said almost every child that is in a foster home is molested by either by the people who adopt them or someone at the foster home. And it was just such a sad story just to hear that, man, because our people go through enough. But when you read the Bible and you read that how we're supposed to obey the Most High God, it's almost like we're telling ourselves that we haven't went through enough. Like we have to ask ourselves as a nation, like, when is enough enough? Like, haven't we suffered enough? Haven't we disobeyed the Most High God enough? Haven't our households been separated and destroyed enough? I mean, hell, we say that, you know, I wish blacks and Hispanics would say, you know how we say it's some brother or sister that may be woke, quote unquote woke. Oh yeah, brother, I'm with y'all. I'm with the UPK. You understand? I don't celebrate birthdays. And then you'll be like, you'll see them out buying gifts and, you know, around Christmas. Oh, I don't celebrate birthdays, brother, but I just do it for the kids. Well, why don't you do the Most High God's laws for the kids? I mean, hell, if you got children and you love them, and you understand this Bible, and you understand that breaking God's laws brings curses and plagues and death to the black community, why don't you do that for the children? Why the hell don't we do that? You understand? If you're going to do it for the children, at least make sure the children are safe. But no, we rather go buy carnal things. We rather do some carnal stuff that is not going to be beneficial to the well-being, the health, and the spiritual uplifting of that child. We're not. We're going to destroy that child, man. You understand? So that's such a heavy precept alone. Verse 15, because we didn't hearken and listen to the Most High God, we didn't hearken and listen diligently, the Lord allowed all these curses to come upon us and overtake us in this book, man. And one of those curses is the fruit of thy Salakia. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Like I said, that brother's story, what he was telling me, he told me a lot of things, and, you know, it's sad. Children are going to be stripped away from you. CPS is going to get called, and your children are going to be taken because you're on drugs, or because someone sees that you have people in and out of the house who don't look fit to be around children. We have drugs around our children. We smoke weed around our children. We smoke cigarettes around our children. We allow the company that comes into our house to do the same thing. You know, oftentimes when you thought you had when a parent calls themselves a good parent, you understand? I've been in situations like this a lot. They'll put all the children in one room. Remember on Minister Society? Remember on Minister Society, at the beginning of Minister Society, when Cain was little, and he was in the room and all his parents were out. They thought he was asleep. You understand? In his room, and all the parents was out shooting up heroin, listening to music, drinking beer. That's the type of environment that we grow up in, and we think is totally normal. By the time we reach, preteen years, we think that's a normal lifestyle. When our parents were wrong for putting us all in one room while they're out in the next room, getting high, having sex, having fun, doing the things that they thought they were hiding from us, but we would peep and open those doors open and look and be like, dang, man, this is it. This is what I'm going to do when I get older. Yeah, man, this is it. You have all that stuff in the house, and then we wonder why CPS is knocking on our door taking our children, because we raise horrible children, because we are horrible parents, and we learned this behavior from the Christian church. And it's going to take brotherhood and sisterhood to turn this behavior around, to raise these children as a village, like I opened up with. It takes a village. Yes, it takes a village. And we have to learn how to love and respect each other enough that when we correct a child, it's out of love. A parent shouldn't feel like, well, I don't want to correct little Tim. I don't want to correct little Tim, because if I do, I know his mama gonna be like, stay out my business. Don't be talking about my son. A lot of times that happens. I'm not saying every case, but when we have a high volume of parents doing that to where no one can correct your child, that makes it harder as a village to raise children. So if we don't want our kids or children taken by people, and which makes us feel, it would make any parent feel low, like the scriptures say. You're not going to feel like you have any might. The children that you gave birth to, sis, the children that you gave their sister will be taken from you, and it's nothing you're going to be able to do. Just like in the transatlantic slave trade, just like in any captivity we've been in. You understand? And when we raise our children the wrong way, and we expose our children to a lifestyle that's going to corrupt them, they're going to grow up to be gang members. They're going to grow up to be hot girls. They're going to grow up to be drug dealers. They're going to grow up to be bullies in school. They're going to grow up to be bullies in school. You understand? That's what's going to happen. Let me get to this other story, if they haven't erased it off the, they erased it. I think that the sister was going in. The sister was going in, I ain't gonna lie. Alright, let me see something. Alright. I'm trying to see if the story is there. That's right, sis Kadawa. The parents aren't stern. That's right. All right, let me get this other story. Okay, this story is still actually on there. This story is still actually on there. Now, this is a sister that she posted this. What's this, last week? A few days ago. And I'm gonna read her. I'm gonna read her caption. And she has such an adorable, beautiful baby girl. And it's sad that this young sister had to go through this, man. All right, so let me read it. It says, breaks my heart. These kids are so mean. Keep talking about my baby's hair and her skin. My baby is beautiful. I'll be sure to make sure she doesn't feel any different. Hate that we're going through this. I can't tell her to fight anyone who says something about her. She'll be fighting her whole life. At this point, it's time to talk to some mamas on my own. Dogwood Elementary, Knox County Schools. This should be addressed ASAP. You understand? So her sister, her baby girl came home sad from school, man. Imagine this. Imagine somebody that looks like you degrading you for the same hair texture, the same color skin that you have. This is self-hate, and this was taught by the Christian church. This was taught by white supremacy for us to hate ourselves. You understand? You ever do the baby doll test? Remember that test that they used to do on the baby doll? And they asked the little black baby, which doll is prettier, the white doll or the black doll? And almost every single time, the little black child would pick the white doll is the prettier one. Which one is the good one? They would pick the white one. Which one is the pretty one? They would pick the white one. Which one is the better one? They would pick the white one. We are taught self-hate because of sellouts like Dr. Martin Luther King wanted to integrate us and thought that we had to be equal to the so-called white man. You understand? This is something that has been taught to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, that we are beneath our oppressor. We are beneath our oppressor. And we don't even realize it until we see situations like this with this young, precious little girl. She came home sad. You know, she's going to have anxiety about going to school. She's going to have problems thinking that she's not pretty enough. She's going to have problems thinking that she's not good enough. Lord forbid she gets older and marries some devil, some oppressor, because he's going to give her attention that her own people didn't. Lord forbid that. I pray her mother finds the ISUPK. I pray that this young girl gets the help that she needs and deserves, because there's nothing wrong with your nappy head. There's nothing wrong with your big lips. There's nothing wrong with your dark skin. There's nothing wrong with it. We have a thing. We're so destroyed. We'll say our children, oh, well, my one baby came out with good hair. You understand? Like, what is bad hair? If the good hair is a little bit more straighter or silkier, and you know, a little is longer, I mean, what are you saying what bad hair is? Obviously, according to our beliefs, this little girl had bad hair, and she's an innocent child. She's an innocent child, man. She's a baby. And she's and keep in mind, this little girl is in grade school. You got grade school children talking about bad hair. Hair means so much, especially to sisters. You understand? Hair means so much to sisters that it was another picture. My rib sent me this on TikTok. I'm going to see if I can show it. I'm going to see if I can show it real quick. Where is it at? Okay, here you go. Alright, Matt, so I'm gonna play it.
Debate sparks over photos of a young pre-K girl wearing lace front wig, lashes, and nails. For the life of me, I don't know why they can't just allow children to be children. I don't know what's this infatuation with young boys and girls
So if you heard the brother correctly, this was a pre-K girl. I mean preschool. A preschool baby that had on a lace front wig, eyelashes, and I believe she had on nails too. And the outfit she had on was like an outfit like an adult would wear, but made for children, like half top cut. Now, that's a cruel parent. That's a cruel parent. That parent hates that little girl. And that parent suffers from probably, I don't know, that parent suffers from a lot of different demons that, you know, she had to get counsel for General Muhammad. I couldn't counsel someone like that. You know, I'm working my way there. But what I will say is that parent hates that child. There's no way, and the brother made a good point. You're dressing your child up as if she's an adult with lace front, nails, a half top, halter top, or whatever it's called. And there are, have you ever watched How to Catch a Predator? I mean, if you look on, you can look on the internet right now. You can look on the internet right now. And there are, go to YouTube and just type in child predator, what are they called? Shows or child predator catchers. Just type in predator catchers. And there are going to be tons of people who catch child predators all the time. And each channel, they catch hundreds of them. It's a problem here in America because America is carnal. America is spiritual Sodom. America is spiritual Egypt. America is evil and wicked as hell. And when we give our children, to the spirit of America, we don't care about the well-being of our children. And I know I'm going kind of off topic because I'm not forgetting about the baby girl who was being bullied because of her short hair. But now here you have a pre-K little girl with a lace front wig on that's not even wearing her natural hair. I can't tell how her hair is because she has on a wig. And who the hell cares? She's in preschool. She's in preschool. Are the other preschool kids going to be looking at the little baby like, but that's the way that she's training up the child. She's not training up the child the way that she should go. She's not training up the child as the ways of the Bible. The Bible says our sisters should be modest. You understand? There shouldn't be any whores of the daughter of Zion. And I know you're going to be saying Elisha, but just because she's dressed like that don't mean she a hoe. If I'm dressed like a police officer and someone tells me that it's a crime around the corner and I tell them, well, hell, why the hell you asking me? They're going to be like, you dress like a cop. You dress like a damn cop. I mean, go save them people around the corner. They're being robbed. So if you dress like a hoe, people are going to think you're a hoe. I mean, it's as simple as that. But, however, our daughters, our sisters, our mothers, our aunts, our women, our children should be dressed modestly, not like whores. Not like whores. But that, matter of fact, before I go back to the little sister at school with her, that they were talking about her hair, let me get another precept first. Oops, Salakia. Let me get another precept first. And it's in the Lamentations chapter 4, verse 3. And it says, even the sea monsters draw out the breasts. They give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people is become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. If you can see how an ostrich just leaves her eggs anywhere. And they're cruel, what we will perceive cruel, to their younglings or to their babies. And it says even the sea monsters will draw their breasts to nurture their children, to take care of their children. Here we are in 2023 setting our children up to be sexualized by child molesters and predators. I don't see how that is any real love. You want to protect your child. You don't want some creep downloading your child's photos or following you on TikTok or following you on Instagram or following you on Facebook, creeping, stalking your page because of your children. You're posting provocative pictures of your child. And it may be some predator stalking your page, waiting for y'all to go to the park, waiting, for the little girl to be outside. He's been stalking you. And the moment he has the opportunity, all predators are going to try to make a move. And here we are as parents in 2023, not raising our children up to be little boys or girls of the Most High God, but you're giving the child to the world. And when we give our children to the world, they suffer. And then you're going to suffer. You're going to feel guilty because you never took the time or made the sacrifice to correct the behavior of the child or correct the behavior of yourself. You don't want to be in that situation. The Bible says even the sea monster dry out the breast. They give suck to their young. The daughter of my people, the daughter of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, it says become cruel. They become cruel to the children. So if you're cruel to the children, what happens? We're talking about bullying. The children become cruel to each other. They grow up, and when they have children, they're cruel to their children. They make fun of little girl's hair because she's wearing braids or her hair is not long or stringy or whatever the case may be. Little boys are going to beat up little girls on the bus and break their jaw and break their nose and bust their lips because they had cruel parents. They had cruel mothers. They wasn't taught any better. And here we are every Mother's Day, every Father's Day, we bigging ourselves up, and our children are failing at school. Our children at bullies at school. Our children are getting high. Our sons are doing drive-bys. Our little daughters are twerking and getting, trains ran on them in middle school. We're proud of that behavior because we showed them that behavior. We showed them that behavior, being horrible parents. Being horrible parents. So like the Bible says, man, the sea monsters draw out the breast and nurture and raise their children to be the best sea monster they can be. Here we are, we just raise our children any damn, like Muhammad, a lot of us was raised by alley cats. Now I think he says possums. Correct me if I'm wrong. We were raised by alley cats and possums. I forget what he say, alley cats and pit bulls. We were raised by alley cats and pit bulls. I said possums. I knew it started with a P. We were raised by alley cats and pit bulls. But that image and these children that are being raised by these parents that are, who hate their children. And you got to understand where the hate comes from. And I always say this, just to make it simple and clear. Us as parents, especially blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians, and if you're in the school, if you're a brother or sister in the school and you might struggle with this, just always remember this. Always remember this, before you make the decision or don't make the decision for your child. Always remember that the wages of sin is death. It's no different than a toddler or a young baby running into the street and getting hit. You understand? I hate using that term of getting hit by an 18-wheeler. And you just sit back and don't correct them after they run into the street. You run into the street, you spank they behind. Don't go on that street again. They start crying. They looking at you like, ah. And the reason why you're spanking that child is to prevent them from dying. There's no difference in sinning against the Most High God. That's why it's important for us to train up the child the way that they should go, because sin is the wages of death. How many parents have buried their children right here in Kansas City? I see it all the time. Burying teenagers, burying young children, burying young children. Parents shouldn't have to bury their children, man. Our children deserve to live long lives and not have to worry about violence or being shot or being kidnapped and sex trafficked. Our children shouldn't have to worry about that. But if we're not teaching them, if we're cruel like the ostrich in the wilderness, if we're cruel and not teaching our children how to become men and women of God, and if we don't rebuke our children, and if we allow our children to grow up bullies and to harm or to cause harm to other children, the wages of sin is death. You failed as a parent. We failed as parents if we allow our children to sin against God and we're not teaching them anything else. So don't never be ashamed or afraid if you're in this school to, let your sister, let her wear a maganda without a school. Let them know so they know where she stand. Tell her we have to train our children to make their election sure, like we're trying to make our election sure, because if they see us be a coward in the truth, they're going to be cowards in the truth. If they see us accepting anything that comes with the world, they're going to accept anything that comes with the world. If our children sees us celebrate Christmas, they're going to celebrate Christmas. If our children see us get high, sell drugs, do things that are ungodly, even if we call ourselves hiding it from them. I know sisters say this all the time. None of my children see the men who I date. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They see you exactly who you dating. Your children know you a hoe. They know. It's just a matter of time, especially if you got young boys. They know. They know. They're going to chase exactly the same type of woman their mother is. And they're going to go through all the hell that their fathers went through. It's not a coincidence that, okay, if these sisters that are so great, according to the Bible, they're cruel mothers. If they're such great parents and, they get all these Mother Day gifts, why are they raising sons that beat women? Why are they raising sons that beat women? Why are they raising sons that cheat on women? Because that's the biggest thing that women struggle with. We went out and did an interview. We went out and did interviews and asked black women why aren't people staying married? Why ain't sisters staying married? Why ain't brothers staying married no more? You know what they said? It's because men are cheating. Which, according to the Bible, a man can have as many wives as he wants. This is God-given right. But a lot of time, brothers haven't been trained up to pick the right wife. You understand? We haven't been taught that discipline that comes with sex. Sex is marriage. But that's another subject for another day. But the fact of the matter is that if the problem is the men cheating and you're a mother who has young boys, how is it that the young boys that our sisters are raising end up cheaters? Does that ever make any sense? It's because, for one, the only offense of a man dealing with another woman is if he sleeps with another man's wife. And there's plenty of that going on. There's plenty of adultery. And if you're some brother, sidebar real quick, who is pursuing another man's wife or talking to some woman that has a man, you are LGBTQ. A lot of times sisters don't realize men are only interested in you when you have a man, because they feel like you're easy access. If I can get this sister to talk to me, I know I can sleep with her and throw her away, because she's going to get mad at her man. But as a man, if you're a man like me, it's like, why would I want to run behind another man when I can have my own? That's how I think. I mean, I'm one West. I mean, I don't want another man's wife. I'm not attracted to him. But we train up our children the way that they shouldn't be, which is cruel, according to the Bible. When you don't raise up the children how the Lord commands us to raise these children, they turn out to be bullies. They turn out to be drug dealers. They turn out to be pimps and prostitutes and drug addicts. And remember, like I said, the wages of sin is death. So if we're raising our children to be that way, guess what? We're raising our children to die. And if you're raising your children to die, how could you ever as a parent say that you love your child? And that's probably the simplest way that I can put it to make us understand how important it is to serve the Lord and raise up children that serve the Lord. Now, Just because you're in the ISUPK or just because you're one West, does that mean your child is going to come into the school? It doesn't. But you would feel a lot better as a parent knowing you tried and gave it your all, and you used integrity, you used the Bible, you used the school, you used counsel, you used every resource you had to raise that child. That child may just have to go and learn on his own. They may, what they say, what we used to say, they may bump their head once or twice. And then they might go ahead and come into the school like, man, I can't do it. I'm done with the world. Mom and dad was right. It's not worth sinning against God. I don't want to sin against God. You understand? I don't want to sin against God. But let me go back to that story. Oops. Where was the story at? Give me 1 second. There we go. Alright, so let me go back to the story. I'm going to read it again. It says, breaks my heart. These kids are so mean. Keep talking about my baby's hair and her skin. My baby is beautiful. Be sure to make sure she doesn't feel any different. Hate that we are going through this. I can't tell her to fight everyone who says something about her. She'll be fighting her whole life. At this point, it's time to talk to some mamas on my own. Dogwood Elementary, Knox County School. This should be addressed ASAP. It should be addressed ASAP. And the sad part is like, the sister wants the school to address it. And that's another thing. First, it starts at home with the children. It starts at home with the children, right? Parents have to, like I read earlier in Proverbs, we have to start training our children in the ways of the Most High God. The Bible talks about us having brotherhood and sisterhood. And we read all the time, in almost every brotherhood class, every Tuesday, we read how the, loving the Most High God with all your heart, all your soul, and I'm paraphrasing, it's the first and greatest commandment. And then the second one right behind it is loving your brother like you love yourself, which is like loving God. So we have to realize that we have to have the type of love for each other to serve the Lord. We can't, let me say it like this. We can't serve the Most High God unless we love each other. And this example of bullying is showing how destroyed we are as a nation, as a people. And a lot of us claim to be Christian, and we have this mentality that we can talk about each other, that we can turn our backs on each other, that your nation shouldn't be in your interest or on the forefront of your mind, when that's the exact opposite of what the Bible teaches. Your nation, man, it could be rough because brothers and sisters are coming from all different walks of life. Brothers and sisters are battling all different types of demons. But the ISUPK, if they come in here, they will learn how to defeat their demons, but it's going to take patience. It's going to take patience. Like Christ had the patience to die for a nation that didn't deserve his, sacrifice. It's going to take patience, man. And we're going to have to learn to love each other regardless of how we feel about each other. We're going to have forgiveness. We're going to have compassion. We're going to have all of these things. Otherwise, we can never build the nation. Otherwise, we're going to look at each other up and down and keep going about how we're going about things. And our children are going to continue to be bullied like this little sweet little girl right here. Our children are going to go to jail for all different types of various crimes. Our young girls are going to be kidnapped and sex trafficked. Our oppressor is going to unalive the next look. I hate to say it, but who's going to be the next victim of police brutality? We have to wake up, man. We have to have love for each other. And another note, if we wouldn't have sold out, integrated into all these schools, we could have our own schools to where we would feel more comfortable addressing these problems. If we wouldn't, if we didn't envy our oppressor so much, maybe we would have more value of our identity and the way that we look. We wouldn't be caring about what this little girl hair looks like. Is the little girl sweet? Is she smart? We pay attention to carnal things, and this little girl more than likely is going through it because those children that were making fun of her, their parents or mother more than likely has some insecurity, and she hears her mother talking about other women all the time. She hears her mother talking about her friends, her so-called friends, that them BFFs. She hears her mother talking about her friends. She hears that because you don't have any friends in the world. You only have people that you get along with until a demon jumps on them and then y'all fighting each other like pit bulls and alley cats. You understand? No one has friends in the world. Your only true friends for the brothers and sisters that are in the Isupk is your family in here. You understand? Yahushua said, "Think not that I come to send peace on earth. I didn't come to send peace, but a sword." You understand? He came to separate mother from daughter, father from son. He came to separate all that. The Lord said his family are those who serve God. You understand? So let's grow the family and come back to the Most High God, as it says in Zephaniah 2:1, and come back to the Most High God and build this family, build this structure, build this brotherhood, this sisterhood. Let's build this nation. That's what we should be trying to do. You understand? Let me go to I think this is gonna be my last preset. Let me go back to Exodus because I like this verse. I'm going to Exodus chapter 20. And where do I want to start? Nah, that's not what I want. Salakia. It's in Deuteronomy 6, 5, and 9. Let me go back to Deuteronomy chapter 6. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 6. And before I read this, I just want to say that, this is what's going to stop bullying. I didn't really get a chance to get inside of bullying, where it came from, where it derived from, but bullying comes from your oppressor, the so-called white man. The Bible says, "Envy not thy oppressor and choose none of his ways." The so-called white man, I remember being young and always watching those so-called white movies, the funny movies, and they always got scenes in high school where it's always these different social statuses. You got the nerds over here, you got the jocks over here, you got the conservatives over here, and you know what I mean? You ever seen those movies? Our oppressor creates all these different social statuses, even in real life. You got the rich, you got the poor, you got the middle class, you got this class and this class and this class. And it creates division, and it makes people feel better than other people. You understand? And that's why it's important that we come back to God's commandments. And it's important that Christ comes back to the earth, because a lot of the things, how our oppressor is running the earth, all that garbage is going to be gone. The kingdom of heaven, the earth would be in a much better state if blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians were ruling it. You understand? But not with the minds of white people. We have to get that all out of our mind. We got to get Christianity out of our mind, because Christians hate people. They hate black people. You understand? They hate black people, just like the so-called white man. There's really no difference. If you're a Christian, you think like a so-called white man. But in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5, it says, "And thou shalt love the Most High thy power with all thine heart." We have to love the Most High God with all thy heart. And if you love the Most High God with all thy heart, you're going to want your children to love the Most High God with all their heart. Let me keep reading. "And with all thy soul, and with all thy might." So you have to love the Most High God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. You got to give it your all. That's the only way that you can be perfect. If you don't give it your all, if you're struggling and trying to find ways to not be perfect, if you're trying to find ways to not give it your all, you're not loving the Most High God, because the Bible says you have to give it your all. You have to give it your everything. You understand? And if you can understand this concept, you would understand why your marriages would last or don't last. Because if you give up on your husband, that means you would give up on God. If you give up on your wife, that means you would give up on God. And you know what else it means? What's the subject tonight? If you don't love the Most High God with all thy soul and with all thine heart, you're going to give up on thy children. You're going to give up on your children. What's the precept to this? Anybody know? Let me see if anybody's looking. Let me see if anybody's paying attention. Anybody know the precept to this? Let me see if anybody's paying. Salakia. Yeah, training up your child is love. Khan, I don't know when you wrote that comment, but what's the precept to what I'm looking for? How do I know if you don't love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, that you're not going to love your brother? You're not going to love your sister. You're not going to love your children. What's the precept to that? Anybody know that? Let me check on YouTube. Hey, shalom, sis, sister, Yapa. Shalom, sis. Shalom, Yahweh Shemala Daba Shem Yasha. All right, for time's sake, since the time is running short, I don't see anybody answering. All right, the answer is 1 John chapter 4, verse 20. If a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love the Most High God whom he hath not seen? So if you say that you love God and you're not giving it your all, if you're not going to give the Most High God your all, we know that you're not going to give your children your all. We know that you're not going to give your wife your all. We know that you're not going to give your husband your all. You're not going to give your brother or your sister your all, because you're not giving the Most High God your all. You just want to be able to say that you love God. But if we don't show with our actions, then what? Your actions is right here on earth. Your actions have to be right here with your people. That's how you know if you love God. By the actions you do to his people. By the actions we do with our children. If your children is going to school bullying and it's not being addressed, you don't love God. And you don't love your child. You understand? Let me keep reading. Verse 6. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. So you have to put them in your heart. What is your heart? Your mind. Your heart is just a muscle that pumps blood. But it's saying this has to be in your mind. Let me read verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. And thou, Salakia, before I keep going on, it says, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. You have to teach God's laws to your children diligently. Not just you teach it to them for a time, right? And then you give them a break. You let them do what they do for a minute. You let them go outside and they're gone. You're really not interacting with them. And then all of a sudden when they get into an issue, you want to, oh, I need to teach you God's law. No, teaching God's laws to your children diligently is what prevents them from going outside and committing sin, from going outside and committing crimes, from going outside and getting high or getting pregnant when she's 13. Teaching God's laws diligently protects your children from the world. If you're a parent, don't give them a break. Don't give them a break. Remember, we all as parents, before we came into the school, before we were One West, and if you're thinking about coming into the school, understand that you have to do things diligently. You can't do things for a time and think you're going to perfect it and think the children are going to perfect it in a short time. You have to be diligent. You have to, matter of fact, let me keep reading the scripture. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house. You should talk to your children when they sitting in the house. Don't talk to them when they get in trouble, just only when they get in trouble. Of course, talk to them when they get in trouble, but not only just when they get in trouble. Pick at their minds. Let them know. Talk to them. Talk to them. Teach them to them. They'll be sitting there playing the game. Hey, son. Hey, daughter. Did you know that that the Most High God wants you to do this and wants you to do that? I see that little boy that you're hanging around. He's really not that good. He doesn't want to serve the Lord. Talk to your children, man. Talk to them. This is what the Bible is teaching us. When thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, when they walking by you in the way, in the hallway, when they walking by you in the kitchen, when they just, it's not a right or wrong time to teach your children the laws of God. Oftentimes when we're Christian and we think like a Christian, we only want to teach our children when something bad happens. And we have to get out that mind frame and teach them diligently. Even when you want to reward them. Reward them with wisdom. Reward the children with wisdom. I know we want to buy them shoes. I know we want our kids to be fly. But sometimes it's best to hold back on that and reward them with wisdom, because the wisdom is what's going to save their life. Them damn pair of Jordans and them Gucci bags and them Balenciagas is not going to save their child's life. It's not. Reward the children with wisdom, man. You understand? Let me keep reading. And when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. You understand? When they rise up in the morning, when they laying down, be diligently all day, every day. Not when they get in trouble. Not when you just bring them to class one time. You're the parent. We have to start operating as parents of the Most High God, not operating as parents in the world. That's what Christians do. You understand? Let me keep reading. Verse 8. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between their eyes. So that you bind them in a sign between their hand is going, when they do things, their actions are going to show if you've been teaching your kids diligently, man. Their actions. You have to teach your kids not just to do it in word, but also in deed. Their actions. Let me keep reading. And they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. You should put this in their eyes, or let it be known every day. Read with them, study with them, teach them, because you're the adult. And the wages of sin is death. And if you want the children to die day and night, when you sitting in the house, when they walking by, when they wake up, when they go to sleep, you should be teaching them this. We should be teaching them this. Verse 9. And thou shalt write them upon the post of thy house and on thy gates. You know, you got rules in the classroom. They got the rules hanging up in the classroom. Do that. Hang them up so they can see. They can see the laws of God. Be there and tell them and teach them. But just don't wait until things go bad. Just don't wait until things get out of control. Teach them. Teach them, man. If not, we'll continue to have children that are bullying other children. Little baby girls coming home crying because she's being bullied by someone that looks like her. By some shoes that she got. Salaki, not the shoes that she got, because someone is wearing some shoes made in China that you paid $1,000 for that's not going to be worth nothing in 6 months. The things that we buy our children that are carnal won't last with them forever. But the knowledge pertaining to the Bible and out of the Bible will last with them forever, and it will save their life. Give your children wisdom and not carnality. And with that, I might have to fix the camera. All right, read these announcements. ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK, start out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21. Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew. By Asherah, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. Now, I got these this week. Alright, so we have the Day of Atonement, September 24th, 2023 at sundown this year, the 10th day of the 7th month. And you can find that in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 27 through 32. Okay, so I went backwards. Okay, so, and also, which is coming up first, September 15th, 2023, the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. Salakia, the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. And that's Friday from sundown, the 15th, September 15th. And you can find that in Leviticus chapter 23, the 24th chapter. You understand? So those are the 2 high holy days that are coming in September. Remind Akim and Akwat to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, and war scarf. And with that, class is dismissed.